Now, you spent some time pleading this case in front of a judge. There
Yeah.
was no benefit to that. Like, what happened there?
So we're talking from March 2018 to July 2021. We're talking almost, 3.5 years there. There was several adjournments that the mother tried to get because I think she realized it was a really hot case. So she gets two adjournments because she said she doesn't have a lawyer, and then we were supposed to have trial in April of 2020, but all the courts got shut down in March of 2020. So
Hmm.
we were delayed until July 21st. So to answer your question, what was the result from that court? Well, if I go back to one of your videos where you talk about mothers in control and how they use children to take control of the situation, I knew before we separated based on conversations with her. Like after she announces this serious relationship, she threatened that I was never going to see my children again. She threatened to take them away. She threatened to leave the province. She threatened to move to PEI. She even threatened to move them to Ukraine. And so I knew she even offered that if I would sign away the children in that spot, she said she'd never bother me for money for the rest of my life. Well, first of all, I knew that wasn't true. And second of all, I knew that this is a person that wasn't willing to negotiate. And so the court system was the only outlet that I had in order to take any control over either the situation or my children, because there was no way to, negotiate or compromise with her. She wanted me out of the children's life.
Here in your notes, it says that you had a police enforcement order
Yeah,
because she was non-compliant and giving you access to the children.
yeah. So we separated on March 8th, 2018. On March 12th, 4 days later, we appeared before a judge who actually ended up being the trial judge. And during that appearance, we created a parenting order that basically gave me the children every weekend except for one weekend a month. During the first 12 months after separation, I saw my daughter one weekend. During the first 12 months after separation, I saw my son the first 6 months after separation, and then the second 6 months, I didn't see him. The
Okay,
one
so
weekend,
okay,
yep,
sorry. So let me just recap here. So she was physically abusive to you, beating you. You
yeah,
have a court order that is supposed to let you have the kids every weekend except for one weekend, but you only saw them once in an entire year, from what I understand.
yes.
How did she end up with custody of the kids? Like who is this moron of a judge that allowed this to happen?
Well, do you want his name?
Let's hear it.
Judge Gregory Rideout, Rideout.
And on what basis did he allow her to have the kids after all this evidence?
The main issue during the trial was the issue of relocation. So, what he was trying to determine for the most part was that should the children be allowed to relocate to PEI, or would they be required to stay here in Vancouver?
He
And then
didn't even
from
deal with the
there,
fact that she didn't give you access to the kids.
he thought, here's the funny part. So, I actually had a judge in January of 2019 provide me with police enforcement. Okay. Now, this
Hmm.
is so serious. If any of you fathers out there have been in a situation where a mother is withholding your children, there's almost nothing you can do. I
Explain that.
had
So what is police enforcement?
Yeah, a police enforcement means the police are actually allowed to go in, and it says in the court order. So I went to a judge. The judge was furious, and the judge came back, a woman by the way, and said, "You now have police enforcement, and every time she withholds the children, you're subject to a $500 fine payable to the father." Spoiler alert: the trial judge says, "Oh, don't worry about it. You won't have to pay any fines. Even though you withheld them for a year."
Okay, but when
Anyways,
you had the police enforcement, did you call the police when she didn't grant you access to pick up the kids?
I did it twice. And so the police enforcement literally allows the police to go into the mother's home or any physical location they think the children may be
Hmm.
and retrieve the parents. After 12 months of not seeing the children, so between the time I got the court order and the time I used it, there was 6 weeks. During that 6 weeks, I was communicating with the mother's lawyer, the mother, with the school principal, the children's teachers, and with the West Coast Family Center. The West Coast Family Center was appointed by the social workers to help manage the mother, help her transition to a shared custody situation.
Hmm.
And so after 6 weeks, my lawyer just said, look, there's no point in getting it if you don't use it. It's time to use it. And so on March 8th of
So sorry, you let it
2019,
happen 6 times before you started to use it.
Yeah, 6 weeks that went on. I didn't see my kids, didn't see my kids.
So
And
what
then
would happen?
finally,
Like you would show up, pick up time. Let's say it's 5 o'clock. You go there. She wouldn't answer the door, or she wasn't home, or like what happened?
I'm supposed to pick up the children at school. By the
Okay.
way, that court order also forbid her from being on school grounds during the transition.
Okay. So
Okay,
you
that's
went
how
to
serious
school.
this was.
Okay. So
So
you
I would
went
go
to
to
school like
school.
6 times, and then what happened when you went?
The kids would basically walk right by me, walk all the way down to the bus stop, which was at the end of the school property where the mother would be waiting for them. And the
Mm.
mother would take the children by the hand, cross the road, and then take them home. To just basically
So
ignore me.
so why didn't they come with you?
Oh, because at this point they weren't coming at all. By this point, I hadn't seen my daughter in 12 months, my son in six
How
months.
old were they?
This is 2019, so 8 and 5.
So they're 8 and 5. They walk out of the school. They see you. They obviously recognize you because you're their father.
Of
You
course, yeah,
say, come on, kiddos, let's hop in the car and,
yeah,
go home. And
yeah,
then they just ignore you and keep walking?
yeah. They just keep walking, even though we have a social worker that's communicating, like trying to talk with the mother, like, "Hey, we have this very serious court order. We need to start moving. You need to be there encouraging. You need to tell them they need to have your backpacks packed." Nope, I
So
didn't
why
have
didn't
it
you
for
call the
6 weeks.
cops at that time to have them enforce the order?
The I did after 6 weeks, but I was trying to
After
work with
six
everybody
times.
after 6 times. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, in hindsight, would you be that nice? Like, would you let it slide that much? I mean, you let her get away with hitting you. You let her get away with a lot, actually.
Yeah. I was hoping I thought the system would hold her accountable, and as it turns out,
Yeah.
it didn't at all.
So there's a lesson for you guys is that the system doesn't hold women accountable to standards, especially when it comes to family law. You can't let stuff slide. It's like you cannot even give them an inch. It's like if you have an order to have the kids at 4 o'clock and you pick them at school, then you make sure you get the kids. If the kids don't get in the car with you, then you call the police and you enforce it. Like you have to use every means available to you because just about everything in family law, like I talked about in my book, like the deck is stacked up against you. You cannot give them any wiggle room whatsoever. And being the nice guy does not work. You have to be a tough guy. Anyway, we can't put you back in
Yeah,
a time machine to fix that. But anyway, so
yeah, yeah.
so after 6 weeks, you finally start to use a police enforcement. Do the kids are the kids happy to see you when the police get you
No,
to them?
it was miserable that when the police first of all when I called the police, they said they weren't going to enforce it.
Okay.
So I got the family law system failing me, the social workers, the agency, everything's like they first refused to it, and I said, "Excuse me, the judge has already made this decision for you. You don't have a choice in the situation. I need you to speak with your supervisor." And I
Hmm.
get a call 20 minutes later, 20 or 30 minutes later, from the same constable saying, "Mr. Morris, okay, I spoke with our supervisor. We're going to be enforcing your court order." And I said, "I will be there to pick them up because I didn't want my children to be escorted to my home in the back of a cruiser." So the first time I did it, the cops go in the house and there's a fight. My son is fighting with the RCMP. The mother-in-law is fainting. The mother wasn't even home when the cops showed up. She was off somewhere, apparently working. So it's one thing to take the kids because she wants to spend time with it,
She's
but
not even with them.
she's not even with them. She just doesn't want me to have the children, right?
Yeah.
So so the cops show up, and the cops obviously call the mother. Mother comes rushing home. There's a big fight, an altercation, and kids are furious. My daughter is crying. She is 19. She's 8 years old at this time. My son is like 9. And sorry, I'm messing up in the math there. And my son is furious. He's so upset at me. He's as I start driving when the police finally bring him out and get into the car, he takes off. Police officers running in the dark after my son.
Takes off like he
It's
runs away.
runs away. It's about the
So
most miserable situation you can think of for a
yeah,
father.
like that would suck as a father. Like, I mean, this is just shit. Um, so the kid runs off, doesn't want to be with
Yeah.
his father. You're doing everything you can to be with your kids. What did she do to the kids to get them to that point where they like? I mean, like, okay, for example, you have a picture here on your GoFundMe. Let me just put it up on the screen because this does not look like kids that don't like their father, right? This is the boy and
Okay.
this is his daughter. I'm assuming, right?
Yes, that's my daughter.
How long ago was this picture taken?
It was taken in July 2022.
Okay.
So my son's already 14 in that picture.
So I mean, like, how much work did you have to do to get to the point where he would go on vacation with you and stand beside his father, at least? Like,
The kids were like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When they were with their mother, they felt like they had to act in a way that would make them happy. And this is what the counselors described to me as the divided loyalty trap. The divided loyalty trap, and this is not something that I said, this is something that the child educators told me that the children are caught in. And it's basically when the children attach or align their interests with the caretaker for fear of their own survival. And so if you think about that for a second, it basically means that when you have a very conflicted mother who refuses to co-parent and burdens the children with making decisions about their own parenting time with the father, it basically puts the burden on the children to refuse their father in an attempt to make the mother happy, and then it forces the father, me, into a situation where either I go away, right, to relieve the situation to help my children, and then indirectly the mother wins because now the father's out of the picture, or if I continue to be part of their life and insist on being their father no matter what, then I'm creating all this conflict and somehow it's all my fault. But when the children were with me alone, they were totally fine. Like, talking, doing stuff, but it's like this massive act they had to put on. When the police showed up, they blamed me. They thought it was my fault. But
did child services do an assessment on what the mother was doing to the kids?
right after separation, they did an assessment. They did an interview with the children. Would you like to hear? Because that's pretty juicy too.
Yeah, sure.
They interviewed the two children, put them in separate rooms, explained the concept of lying. The children told them that I was hitting the mother every day. Children told them that I was hitting the children every day, and then they told them they didn't want to be with their father. After the social workers explained to them a little more about lying and pressed them for the truth, they admitted that their mother had coached them to say these things. It admitted that the father had never hit the mother, father never hit the children, and that sometimes the mother hits the children. That
Did,
was the results, and that's
did,
that's in the report. 500
did,
pages, by the
did that get in front of a judge at some point?
way. Yeah, yeah, the judge had that.
And the judge still let her get away with going to PEI with her boyfriend and the kids?
Yeah, well, you want to hear the ridiculous part? Is Judge Rideout actually said that he finds no he dismissed my allegations of parental alienation in his final assessment. Now, I get the fact that he's not an expert, but and I have audio tape clips and everything, and still, um, it's indescribable. Yeah. So yeah. So that was the results of the interview. By the way, the social worker file was in the mother's name because they had, and I'm paraphrasing here, they had serious concerns over the mother's parenting style, and they were and about her aggression towards the father of the children. So it was really messed up.
Hey guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that short clip. If you did, consider supporting the creation of content by checking out my supplement line. Pinned in the top comment below of this video in the comments, there's a link to the unpluggedalpha.com/shop. When you click through, you'll be able to land over here, and the entire lineup is broken down by category that it performs best in: estrogen metabolism, fat burning, your foundational essentials for health, immune health, performance, and testosterone support. If you check out with coupon code ALPHA10, you'll get 10% off on your first order. There's also the option to use the subscribe and save model, where regular shipments will be sent over to you on a regular basis, and that gives you a little bit of a discount, and your supplement facts are always broken down over here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome day. And again, check out that link. It's pinned in the top comment below in this video. Peace out.